Good evening, everyone. My name is James Jones, and I'm one of the staff members of the Reinvention Center. Tonight, we bring to you Growth Hour. In this segment, we will be having a multiple topics. The first one and the main important one, well, both of them important, but the first one will be intimate relationships after coming home from prison, and the second part of it will be the challenges or adapting to the challenges that we may face from when coming home from prison. Um, Tonight we have a special guest. First, I would like to thank all our returning guests, and also our special guest that we have tonight, Mr. Brandon. He will introduce himself. He has a group. I want him to elaborate on that as well. I ask and encourage everyone to join his group. A very positive individual. I'm not going to do a lot of speaking on him or whatnot because he's a phenomenal guy. He can speak for himself. I believe he has his wife, Linda, with him today. She may speak. Excuse me.
She's here.
Okay, so two phenomenal people. And I just had to share the gentleman and his wife with you, this beautiful couple with you. In addition to that, we have Ms. Harris. Thanks for coming again, Ms. Bowe, Mr. Jones, Ms. Felicia. We have another staff member of the Reinvention Center, Lisa Riley, and later on we will have Maurice Clifton as well. I believe he's coming in now. But tonight, again, we ask that everybody respects everyone's opinion and their perspectives, their ideas, their ideologies. Whatever it is that someone brings, please respect it. Please don't try to overtalk anyone. This is not a debate. This is something where we're just trying to have a meeting of the mind and trying to educate each other. How you doing, Mr. Clifton? Can unmute yourself, man. You gotta unmute yourself. You gotta mute yourself.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm great. I was just introducing everybody, and I'm glad you popped in. There's, Mr. Maurice Clifton. Without saying Mr. Maurice Clifton, he's with Sale Mississippi, as well as the Reinvention Center. So tonight, what I would like to do is go ahead on and dig into this topic. Before we do, though, I asked that, Maurice, if you have any announcements you would like to make about Sale Mississippi or upcoming events or anything that may be coming down the pipeline for Sale Mississippi or your clothing business that you have going or something like that. There, would you like to comment on any of that?
Yeah, the clothing line would be. Hey, how everybody doing? I'm Maurice.
Thank you.
What's up, Brandon? How you doing, man? Good to see you, man.
Maurice.
Yeah, long time, man. Long time no see, man.
Already, I see you looking good still.
Man, trying to, man. You as well, man. What's up, Lisa? Everybody, everybody. But look, there's not anything in particular that's coming down the line other than I'm trying to increase the amount of clothes that I have for when offenders come home, so that I can send them something, I can get their size, and I'm trying to build my connection to where I can connect them, no matter where their guys are getting out at. I want to be able to connect them with somebody in that region or in that area that can help them get them some clothes and help them find employment. And so I have a few cleaners and stuff that, like, when the clothes that people are leaving behind, they're going to let me purchase them for men and women, because we have a lot of women who are coming home too. And so other than that, man, we're supposed to do a rally march for Mississippi as soon as COVID eases up, but it's tentatively scheduled for March. And so I'll keep everybody posted on that. And as far as the clothing line, I'm going to try to come out with some Black History shirts, T-shirts, and jogging suits that, and I'll post a website hopefully next Sunday once I get with my son and we finalize everything. I was really hoping to have some Kwanzaa material, you know what I mean? But I couldn't really get the material that I wanted to get the stuff made out of. But other than that, man, I'm still fighting for people to come home and still out here on the advocacy mission. Yeah, but it's good to be here, James. What's up?
Thank you for coming, brother. Always a pleasure to see you. I want to touch on briefly what you just described with your clothing line. I ask that people do support him, not only because he's a part of the Reinvention Center or Sale Mississippi or a personal friend of mine. I actually support him because he's doing advocacy work, and that stuff costs money. A lot of people don't think about it, don't think about where the money comes from, but they do come when they need help. They do, everybody that need help don't, just come to the organization and say, hey, I need help. They don't think about where the finances or the funds and none of that stuff come from. This is where some of the funds are generated to help other individuals. So please participate with this clothing line and purchase some things from them, there's no certain amount that we're asking that you purchase. We just asking that you purchase something. And any other fundraisers or anything that raises money for organizations I ask you support as well. So again, tonight, I thank everybody for coming. Tonight is Intimate Relationships After Prison. And as I said earlier, for the ones that's new, I have a friend, Brandon, that's on here, and I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. He has his wife with him. Her name is Linda. They're a new couple. He recently released from prison, federal prison, after many years. And I'm going to let him tell his story and give his perspective. Good evening, Brandon.
Hey, good evening. How you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah, we started a group. It's surviving outside the prison walls. We know it's a struggle coming out, regardless. No matter if you serve a year, no matter if you serve 10 years, 20 years, you go through mental changes when you're in there, and coming out, it's a whole different type of adapting. And sometimes we don't have the mentality to fend for ourselves, so we do need help. I needed to reach out. I served a long time in prison, and I needed to reach out. 18 years, and I'm still struggling. I've been out less than a year, and the group was started just so we can give each other advice and lift us up. We spend so much time doing the wrong thing. We spend so much time bringing each other down, and we've had this race differential. We've had this money differential, and you had all this envy. We gotta have to put it aside, and we have to step aside. And no matter if you like me or I like you, we should be able to come to each other. And if I see you having a bad day, I should give you advice. Look, this is what it is. I shouldn't want to stomp you because you're down. I shouldn't want to make you feel worse. I shouldn't want to make you feel like less of a man or a woman or however it's going to be. And I grew up in a rough environment, and that's what it was about. That's exactly what it was about. It was dog eat dog, and whoever has the most toys wins. And it's a sad situation. As we get older, we keep this mind frame, and that's why we can't survive, and we can't survive the struggle. We're always going to struggle because we can't get out of our own mind. We can't get out of our own way, and we can't realize that there are good people everywhere. And just so happened, I have a heck of a support system. And my wife is a heck of a support system. She's my best friend, and it is what it is. However, people seem is not being too macho, it's not being any of that. And she does what she has to do to keep me sane. Matter of fact, this group was actually her idea because of me. Because of me, I still have a problem with dealing with stuff. Am I well-spoken? I can be well-spoken. But I can also ask for help. And that's the reason I did reach out to Mr. Jones when I seen his picture, and I asked him. And I asked him if he could, if I'm asking for advice, and he said he could help me. Regardless what it is, we need each other. And our kids need us, and our kids need us to be there. If we can't be there for our kids, then there's going to be somebody we don't want there to be there for them. And they're going to be the same place we are. It's going to be a revolving door, and it's never going to stop. And that's just how it goes.
Okay, so you've done 18 years in federal prison, and you've been home less than a year.
Yes, sir. May 1st.
What challenges would you say was the hardest and most difficult challenges that you faced?
The hardest challenge is once I go somewhere to do something and they find out I do have a criminal background that I have served a lot of time, my preparation was ill. I didn't have my birth certificate in line. I had my social security card. I didn't have my birth certificate in line. So then and I had to explain why I didn't have certain type of identifications. Once they did find out why I didn't have it, then they started treating me all the way different. Like I was a monster to just walk through their door. And it's still going right now, from the DMV to the banks to when I all the way till I went to get a job.
So when you encounter these individuals that were treating you the way they were treating you, of course you felt some type of way about it. How did you respond to the way you felt?
Honestly, the first time I snapped out. I snapped all the way out. I told him about itself. My wife is the one that anchored me down. I told him about itself because it's hard to differentiate I'm gonna call it civilian disrespect versus a prison disrespect. You just see a face in front of you, see skin in front of you, and you think it's all the same sometimes. So I snapped out on him. It was and it was what it was. I had to leave the premises.
So it's fair to say that, I'm going to ask you this. I'm not going to say that. Mm-hmm. Have you made that transition yet in your mind from being in prison to being in the street, and how things are handled differently out here in the street opposed to in prison?
It's coming along. I'm working on it. I work on it every day. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I made 100% change. I can't tell you that, but I'm working on it. It's getting better. My tolerance level is getting a little better. I'm working on it as I go. I'm learning how to talk to people, and my wife talks to me all the time and tells me, look, this is how you have to talk to people. And, it's kind of working out a little better.
I'm laughing or smiling because I've been told by several people, and later on you'll hear this from Mr. Jones. I haven't expounded on this here, but that my conversation is direct and kind of harsh, yes. And I explained to them that I was in a world that I'm used to dealing with adults. Yes. I'm not used to dealing with kids. The first thing, as you know, and some of us, the ones that's been incarcerated know, it's the first thing that a person says out of their mouth inside of the wall is, "I'm a man." So I'm gonna talk to you as you're a man. I'm not talking to you disrespectful. I'm talking to you direct and stern, or assertive. And people out here tend to want to have things sugar coated to them, and they want to be talked to soft and all that stuff there. This is the harsh world, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't tone down sometimes, but I feel that I am who I am, and because I am who I am, I've got as far in my journey of life as I have, being who I am. God created me different than He created the next person. Hey, I don't know what my role or what my goal is, or in a person's life, but I just want everybody to know that, hey, that we all struggle with that. I've been out almost 5 years and I'm still struggling with that. I get angry, and sometimes my thought process goes all the way back, but I have to catch myself and realize that I have something to work for now. I have something to lose. Let me say it that way. And also, I am trying to be a role model. I am a role model, and I want to continue to be a role model. So going back to my lower self or my old self is not good at all. So just know that you're not alone in that struggle. And if as I told you before, if you get to one of those points, don't hesitate, pick up the phone and call me. And we can we can talk about it right there. But it's a whole lot of things that you're going to encounter out, here that goes against the principles of prison. But I want you to also, get out of the prison mentality, because if you don't, you're going to go back to prison, because these people are not all, but a lot of these people out here, they don't view what we view as disrespectful as being disrespect. They may do something I say, we say, hey, you're not supposed to do that. But to them, this is normal. We seen that in Yazoo with, and I love these guys, but we seen that, when I first went to Yazoo, and you had the New Orleans guys that was out there playing basketball, and they was calling each other the B word. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a fight. It's going to go down, but in the world I was in at that time, that was acceptable. They didn't take that as being disrespectful, so, I just ask that you keep that in mind, and that's what we're here for, to help each other and move forward from that point on. As far as your relationship, next question, as far as your relationship, what challenges did you and your wife face when you first initially came home?
Well, we never lived together. So first coming home, we had to learn each other. And that was a struggle in its own, because I'm used to living with men. And we're used to having ourselves a certain way. We're used to having our food a certain way. We're used to having, everything is routine. And a free routine is different than a prison routine. And sometimes we still have issues. I'm not gonna front with you. Sometimes we still have issues because that's what it is life. And we're still learning each other. Regardless, we've been dealing with each other my whole prison bid. We've been dealing with each other. But we've never had a physical, we've had an emotional, but we've never had a physical or a tangible, something we can just cherish relationship. You know, it's always been visitation, 300 minutes on the weekends, and that's it. And then she goes home and lives her life, and I'm in the penitentiary living my life. And I'm in the penitentiary living my life. And we come together on the weekends and love every minute of it. But now that I'm home, now we're having to go all the way brand new, like we didn't know each other, and start all the way over. Okay, we know each other's name. We do know that we love each other, and we do know that we can make this work. But yeah, sometimes it is a struggle. Sometimes it's like, dang, you know, and just so happens she's a heck of a support system, mental, physical, and a financial. So I didn't come home to nothing. Now, so be it, she had an hour to get ready for me to get here because I got immediate release. And that's it. She had 1 hour. But we knew enough about each other where it wasn't just going to be a hardcore struggle. It was going to be like, okay, now we're living together. We're married. We're living together. Now we're just going to have to figure each other's triggers out. And I'm going to say either hit them head on and sometimes tiptoe around them. You know, and that's what it is. Like, but she's teaching me a lot about society. She's teaching me a lot about society. And to me, she's doing a heck of a job because she knew the old me and she knows what I became, but she still knows I have that spark. So, and plus she has another prison, her own group. It's Faithful Independent Prison Wives. So she had a time to deal with people that had their people in prison, or they just came home, and they can have some type of conversation or shoulder to lean on as well. It wasn't just we weren't just both thrown out in the water with some sharks.
If you don't mind, can I ask her a question?
Yes. It's Jones right here. Come on. Here she goes right here.
Yeah, thank you. How you doing, first of all?
How are you?
Pleasure to meet you. You know, and I definitely appreciate everything that you're doing for Brandon. You know, it takes a strong individual to deal with us that's coming home from prison. You know, it goes both. You can kind of go both ways, to be honest. You know, because it's a culture shock. You know, for both of us. You know, we accustomed, we're used to doing what we're used to doing. But my question to you, I would like to ask you first. I would ask you to speak more on your group and let people know how they can join your group and exactly what your group does.
My group is a prison wife group. Actually, I created it because of a lot of the other prison wives groups. There are certain rules. You can't really say too much of what you want at times. So one day it just started as me wanting to like get my thoughts out. So that's all it was. I couldn't post it on my Facebook, you know, at that time because of family and friends, and they didn't actually know at that point, you know, everything. So I created that group. They do now. But yeah, that's how that came about.
So how, if someone wants to join your group, how do they go about joining? Is it on Facebook? What platform do you have it on?
It's on Facebook, and we also have it on Instagram. But you just type it in the search engine, it'll come up, and you can request to join. And it's basically a prison wife group that, you know, we just support each other. It's a smaller group, but sometimes small is better.
Well, you know, it's good. That's good. But as you know, as of right now, it's a smaller group because you have a lot of women that's in the same predicament that you're in, and that needs some guidance and wants some support and just want somebody to talk to or to listen to. And they have a lot to offer as well. You know, so don't be surprised if it grows. Definitely don't be surprised. If you don't, you know, another question I would like to ask you: what was the biggest challenge that you had to deal with
I can't hear you. What?
With Brandon coming home, what was the biggest challenge you had to face with Brandon coming home?
Attitude, because in society it's corporate. I work for a law firm, and I deal with corporate every day, and you have to hold your tongue. And if you know him, like I do, that does not work so well.
All right. You know, he's new home, and I'm thinking that eventually, you know, with the help of you and everybody else, he will get out of that, you know. But in the environment that we were in, and I'm going to touch on something that Ms. Harris said and then allow her to touch on, the environment we were in, excuse me, it promoted violence. It kind of promoted violence because that was like the governor. Violence was the governor of people's action inside the prison, the threat of violence. So let me say it that way. So, you know, and also because you're in an environment that you don't want to be perceived as weak. So you always stand up for yourself. However, when you come home, we don't know how to turn that switch off. And that leads to what I'm going to allow Ms. Harris to speak on, because she spoke on counseling. She suggested counseling for everybody that's in a relationship with someone that's coming home from prison. Because again, as I said before, it's a culture shock. You have a woman that has been taking care of the household for yourself 18 years, and you've been doing a heck of a job doing it. My hat's off to you and any other woman like you, but now you have a gentleman that's coming home that's kind of like a baby in a sense, because he has to relearn the world, but he still wants to be a man, so that I think that within itself causes a challenge, for both parties.
Can I ask you a question though?
Sure.
Really quick? When you're around a lot of people, do you get like jittery to say the least?
To be honest, what you say?
When you're around a lot of people, like when you're in public and you're in a big crowd, does it bother you? I shouldn't say jittery. Does it bother you?
It used to. It doesn't anymore. Let me say it that way. It doesn't anymore. But I am still skeptical about where I go, what I do, who I be around. I'm an outgoing person, of course, but I am not a friendly person. That may sound crazy. I don't just go in and introduce myself to people. But if you get to know me and you know me, you'll say, this is one of the funniest and friendliest guys in the world. But if you don't know me, you're going to say, this is one of the meanest guys in the world, because I won't say anything, But to answer your question, yes. And with that, I know you're going to have other questions and I want to come back to you, but I want Miss Harris to touch on that, because this topic has been going on for 2 weeks. And a lot of the things that we're speaking on, we have already spoken on. Please unmute yourself, Miss Harris.
Good evening, everyone. And again, thank you, Mr. Jones, for allowing me to be on this platform to speak to this particular topic. I didn't catch the name of the beautiful lady that was speaking, but I will suggest, if you would, go back to Mr. Jones' page and look at some of the conversations. The very question that you asked was really the center of our conversation last week. It's a lot of meat, but to go back into that, yes, my husband dealt with the same thing. Mr. Jones spoke about it. Mr. Clifton spoke about it. And some of the other people that was here on the platform, they spoke about that. And part of it is transition. For me, I have to talk, I cannot leave out God. I have to put him first. I feel like you have to have spiritual counseling and counseling from a corporate setting. The corporate setting for me, it gives the two individuals somebody that don't know them, that's not coming in here with a playing ground that I'm gonna take this person's side or that person's side. They're just trying to merge those two people together. So I really would suggest you guys doing that. I hear the way your husband speak of you, how positive, how you're this, how you that. But at the same token, I heard him being transparent. And I love that. If we get on this platform, we have to be transparent, but respectful to everybody that's here. He said it's still some issues. And so what I heard from part of y'all's story, y'all dated while he was in prison. Well, y'all had a relationship or married, while he was in prison, but y'all didn't live together. Y'all kind of went through the same thing I went through. And just imagine me, I didn't have the pre-knowledge of being with my husband while he was in prison. First of all, I married a person that I knew who had a background from my perspective, but not understanding what these guys go through and the time period it takes for some of them to transition. We met 2 years after my husband was in prison. So I didn't even know I like the this group that you have. I would have loved to, been a part of a group like that. So I can understand certain things and certain, I heard your husband or somebody use the word triggers. And it's crazy that we have to use that, but I'm not going to delete that. Regular relationships who haven't been in prisons, when two people are trying to merge together, it's things that that trigger them. So to speak to that, it's a, you know, one of the things that I would suggest also for your husband, what is his gift? What is his calling? I don't know what he did when he was in prison. You know, is he a visionary? And this is one of the things that we didn't touch on last week. And Mr. Jones kind of brought this up after I gave my conversation. He said, Ms. Harris, I think you was dealing with two strong individuals trying to come together. This is not the platform to speak on who's right, who's wrong. I just want to speak on how do we make it work? And because there's so many families are being affected by this. But I would say, I put myself last and worked on him first. I was a person that did see his strengths. I knew my strengths, my weaknesses. I knew those things about myself. My husband is very much of a visionary. We was trying to think of a name of our company. It wasn't coming to me. It didn't come to me as fast as it came to him, but it came to him. So he was the visionary. But most visionaries, they can't execute the details of things. You understand what I mean? So I submitted to that. Baby, go forward. Let's go with this idea. Let's pray about it first. Is this something God wants us to do? And then once he came with it, if you come with a vision, I can help you make that vision plain. We can write it out. We can do the details. So I was more of the detail person. So you have to understand your personalities and know your strengths and weaknesses. It's no more y'all two strong people. Yeah, we are. That's how we became the people that we are. But we have to humble ourselves and see, okay, if this person is good with that, whether she female or she what, let her go with that. For example, when I spoke to this particular subject about finance, okay, I ran a bank. That was my prior experience. Does that make me know everything? No, it doesn't. But then I do have a level of experience that he doesn't have. But just like I just said, although I ran a bank, he was a visionary. He could come up with ideas. So it's learning, merging. Miss Obama, I think she gave the perfect analogy about two people becoming one. She talked about that merger. But in that merger, it takes two individuals, whether you're strong or what, to see the strengths and weaknesses of their partners. And sometimes when we're in the situation, we can't see because everything is based off emotions. That's where having that extra person to kind of come in and be your mediator to help you learn your strengths and weaknesses. So I personally believe in spiritual counseling first, and I would call more of a corporate service counseling. I believe in both of them.
I want to touch on a few things, and then I'm going to let you speak again, Ms. Linda. I want to, bring to the light for the ones that have forgotten that even though we are adults, we have less experience in relationships based on the amount of years that we were in prison and how we had to work our relationships from prison. I forget who it was. I want to say Brandon mentioned this, that we had to do it through visitation, or we had to do it through 300 minutes on the telephone. That means we got 300 minutes, phone minutes a month. Imagine that you can only talk on your phone for 300 minutes a month. That's what we had, and we had to communicate with those 300 minutes to everybody that we love, kids, parents, our significant others, the few great friends that we may have. We have to balance that out. So that made it a little bit more difficult for us to be in a full-blown relationship like someone in the street would. The next thing I would like to touch on that Ms. Harris said is teacher. I've learned that, and I know the woman is the first teacher. When the child is born, the first person he sees is his mother, and then, the person that's nurturing it is the mother. So I'm sure I speak for all, a lot of men. I'm not going to say all men. We do respect the women as teachers, and we do respect your opinions. At sometimes we may have, and I'm guilty of this. When I was in my other life, I would tell my significant other, hey, mind your business, when she's telling me something about that life. And I would say, hey, mind your business. But what I learned is that she's on the outside saying something that I didn't see, and she just had my back, So I had to come to learn that, to respect her position in my life and understand her position in my life, and that she can speak on things that may not have been her business because she's speaking on it out of my best interest. The last thing I would like to speak on before I like to go back into it, Ms. Harry, you say you put yourself first. I think that, now people say 50-50. I don't even like to use that term. I like to use 100-100, because that's what we should be giving each other 100%, and I shouldn't expect anyone that I love to put their self behind me or to put their self on hold. I chose you because of who you are in the direction that you were going. So what I should do is not ask you to put yourself first or anything. Second, but, ask you to continue to be who you are, but be a little bit more understanding. As I said before, this is the challenge. I agree. We need counseling, because you need a mediator, because people who have been home, like Miss, I'm going to say a woman that has been dealing with a guy that was been in prison for 10 years. She's been doing it on her own, but now he's coming home. She's been wearing the pants. Let me say it this way. She's been wearing the pants for all those years and taking care of everything. And now you're coming home saying, I want you to teach me, but give me them pants. Them don't belong to you no more. I'm going to wear the pants. And I think that's where the struggle and the conflict may come in at as well. So I just ask people to think about that. 2 questions that someone wrote. First one is, what are some best practices to connect with counseling and tips for finding someone who is a good fit? Anybody can answer that.
Can you repeat the question?
What are some best practices to connect with counseling and tips for finding someone who is a good fit? Basically, how do we go about finding the counselor that's a good fit for what we are facing, what we're trying to deal with?
Well, I'll use myself as an example. When we went to, we both had individual counselors and we had a marriage counselor. So with both of mine, my individual counselor and my marriage counselor, I said, hey, when we come up in here, a lot of our conversations is going to be about God. What is your spiritual faith? So we had a Christian counselor. So if we in there talking about things of, our core of our relationship, we built, we have to go by what the Bible says. So when we talk about those issues, I didn't need nobody in there looking crazy, not totally understanding what we was talking about. So for us, and for me, that's what I was looking for.
Okay. Ms. Riley, can you unmute yourself? Because I know you've been wanting to ask a question for a while.
Well, I have this show going live on my Facebook. And Brandon, there's a question for you. Young lady would like to know, we understand it was real quick.
She personally said, Erica, I don't want a female counselor.
Oh, can you hear me okay, Brandon?
I can hear you now.
Okay. What they want to know on the Facebook Live on my end is what was running through your head at that moment. They understand you found out real quick. How did you prepare yourself for that? And what was you feeling as you were coming out?
Actually, I thought it was a dream. I was expecting them to pull me back anytime because I had to wait 45 minutes for a cab, and then they flew me out. They didn't put me on a bus. They put me on an airplane. So, and the whole time I'm on the airplane, all the way to the time I touched down in Houston, I was still expecting the marshals to pick me up. And what was going through my head? I was happy. I was scared. And I didn't know, for the first time in my life, I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know what to expect. I was happy I was going home, but the penitentiary or the prison became my life for so long that I was used to them 4 walls. I was used to that locker. I was used to that bunk, and I was used to the radio. For the first time in my life, I didn't have control over my future for that next hour and a half, and I was scared to death.
Now, what do you think, Brandon? And I appreciate you saying all this, but now for myself, when I left prison, I didn't think this is what I was going to do, A, B, and C. I just knew I wanted out and as quick as possible. At what point did you realize that you had to do things differently, that you had to make some changes?
Honestly, a first-time offender getting 25 years in federal prison on a nonviolent crime. And I knew if I caught one more charge, I'd never see freedom again.
I understand that. I truly do. And I understand having that anxiousness, you know, because now it's kind of different in being around people, because not everybody realizes that, you know, when you go in those large crowds, things can happen that runs through my head that wouldn't run through the next person's head that has never been incarcerated or has never had a loved one incarcerated, you know. And when we talk about, you know, making changes and talking, you know, different and rethinking, you know, people tend to think that you're a pushover, or you know, you're weak in some form. And even being free, Brandon, I'm going to tell you, even for myself, the circle online, you know, people take that and run with it and feel as though then you should give them a pass on being rude. How do you separate that for yourself?
I'm still working on that. Honestly, I'm still working on it. There is no, now.
I get it. I totally get it.
There is no automatic pass. There's not, because no matter if you've been to prison or if you haven't been to prison or if you're going to prison or if that's not even on the agenda, there's no reason to be rude. There's no reason to be disrespectful and ever, you know what I mean? Now, I understand. What I can tell you is, because of where I've been, I can understand you might be having a bad day. Okay. Oh, yeah. You might be having a bad day. I might could see a different character on you, and you might be having a bad day right now. So you might not get 100% of what I really have to say. You might only get 75. But that's all the passing and because I still have episodes. 8 months later, I still have episodes because of lack of respect. You know, people fail to realize that, like you were saying, everybody's not a pushover. You can't just sit here and tell me something. You know, you can't slap me in the mouth and tell me I had a car wreck. No, you just slapped me in my mouth. You didn't. There's two different entities there. I wasn't even in the car. No, you're not going to trick me like that. Now, the thing is, I don't do drugs and I don't drink. So everything comes a lot faster. I understand things a heck of a lot faster than I ever have. You know, you can piece things together like just like Lego blocks. You can piece them together in seconds, and it's gonna stick.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that, and I appreciate you and your wife for being here, and I hope to see you guys every Sunday. I truly do. So thank you.
No problem.
All right. I want to read this comment from Ms. Urbana, and then I'm going to let Mr. Parks talk because he raised his hand now. Ms. Urbana, Urbana was answering the question of how do we find a good counselor, and what she said was, it's like she personally thinks that it's trying on shoes. You have to find one that fits you all the best. Then she said she had asked some counselors, therapists. Let me go back because I have to read this. I apologize. She said she had asked some counselors and therapists that she personally respected for recommendations, and then she started calling those actual people. So what we'll do is, with that, I'm going to go to Mr. Parks and then Mr. Raymond Matthews. I do see your hand up.
Evening, everybody. Yeah, I've been waiting. I've been chomping at the bit, James, since last week. I've been wanting to say something, but now I want to answer the young lady's question on. I saw it on Facebook or whatever. They asked about the mental health, about counseling, right? So first, welcome home, Brandon.
Thank you. Appreciate
man, I can feel you coming through the skin. I did 17 and some change, and I can feel you, and the fact that you came home short notice, um, that is, it's going to be extremely. It's a lot harder for you. I came home and I didn't want to be in a relationship. I wanted to get myself right first. I wanted to be worth something before I got. I couldn't even talk to girls on the bus. Girls would try to holler at me. I'm like, I don't have anything to offer. You know, I came home. I was a personal trainer, and I catching the bus to the gym. So I didn't mess with any girls in the gym because I didn't have anything. I live with my mother. You know, like I didn't feel personally like I was in a position I couldn't take a girl out. You know, I could it was difficult. It was difficult being who I used to be and coming home, um, which is why I talk about transitioning tomorrow. I'm speaking about transitioning tomorrow on a Zoom. But yeah, so they talk about counseling, right? I worked in mental health. I became a peer support specialist a couple years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago. A peer support specialist works in the realm of mental health. They work with individuals, but they work using um, skills they develop from learned experience. You know, like it's different from a counselor or a therapist who goes to college and gets educated in how to help a person with their problem. So, as a peer support specialist, you're a life coach. You learn from living. You know it's you learn these things. I actually went through what you went through, so I can talk to you about it, and you might respect it more coming from me than from a person like a single woman can't tell a married woman how to succeed in her marriage. She can just tell her about being single. You know, anything about marriage she read about. You know, so it's the same with a person trying to counsel you on your prison relationship and how to handle your relationship after prison. If they've never done it, how can they tell you about it? They've never experienced it. This isn't something that you can just go to college and learn. You know, so I build myself for counseling. You know, I'm an expert in the matter. I'm married. I've been married going on 5 years now, and I came home from prison. So this is something I actually lived through. I can tell you the challenges that we faced, challenges that are like I counsel people, so challenges that other people face too in their marriage. Like with you, Brandon, like man, I'm really shocked at the short notice that she had that you were coming home. So you got to think that's like when I came home, I was trying to be a good Sally to when I got with my wife. I was trying to be a good Sally, and we all know what that's like. You know, you want a good Sally. You want a Sally that knows when you get off to be out of the cell, to give you time in the cell. You know, you go to sleep at 10, so and don't be making all that noise. You know, like after 10, we all try to be good Sallys when we were in. You know, when I came home, I was trying to be a good Sally, and being a good Sally is not the same as being a good husband. You know, it's very different. It's very different. There's a lot of give and take in a relationship. And luckily, I read a book, and I would recommend this to anybody, man. Anybody, read the book, The Five Love Languages, please. If you want something to help you with your relationship, this book is paramount. It's The Five Love Languages. We all have a different love language that we speak. It will behoove you to learn your mate's love language because you might be in they have I can run them it's physical touch, um words of words of empowerment or something like that, words of endearment, gifts. Some people, so what's the other one, uh uh quality time, and the fifth is I don't know. I got a brain fart, but there are five, and we all operate on one of those five according to this book. And I found it to be true. You know, you find out what your mate's love language is, man, and start speaking to them that way. If she likes to cuddle and you don't, that's her love language. You got to sacrifice, you know. So you know, I mean, I know that this discussion is about life after prison, relationships after prison, but at the end of the day, it's just a relationship. We just have an obstacle we have to overcome. And I forgot who was talking about crowded spaces. When I came home, I was burnt out. That's what we call it. We call it burnt out. You guys, it's really PTSD was suffering from PTSD. So it would behoove you as a woman in a relationship with a guy who just came home from prison, find out what type of environment he was in. Like we don't all do time in the same place. They have pens, they have mediums, they have lows, and they have camps. If somebody went and did 5 years in a camp, his experience isn't like mine. So you need to find out what your mate experienced while he was away. Because if you were in I was in 2 gladiator schools. I was in Beaumont and Pollock. Those are 2 gladiator schools. People get stabbed on the regular. So that's gonna be it's gonna be a little more trauma associated with that. This is the type of environment where you go to the shower with your boots on. You know, you got somebody standing at the door when you go get in the shower. So it's gonna be different from each individual. So you got to find out, what he was subjected to while he was in. Find out what custody he was in, where he was at. What type of is it going down at that institution? Because that's going to tell you a lot about his mentality when he comes home. Brandon, I don't know where you were at, but you probably still got a little bit of that edge on you. We come home, we're kind of aggressive. We don't even realize it, but we're extremely aggressive. I was told quite a few times I was aggressive. I was extremely aggressive. I came home, I thought I was still in the 90s. I didn't want to wear the clothes that these kids would. So I wasn't conforming. So I didn't want to I didn't want to wear tight pants and stuff like. So I'm a nonconformist. I don't believe I have to conform to what society deems as popular. But I won't eat up too much of the time, man. Again, welcome home, Brandon, man. Look, you got it. If you want, man, you can always call me. And I don't even know you. Look, I'm a reentry advocate. You got any questions? You can hit me up, man.
All right.
And I'll leave my information in the chat to you.
All right. I'll let you know when you said you hit the nail on the head too. I do not want to wear tight clothes, and I do have some aggression.
Yeah.
You sure hit the nail on the head. It was okay.
And what I want to do is we have Mr. Matthews that wants to speak, but I want to come back and touch on something that you said, Mr. Parks. But I want to let Mr. Matthews speak before I do that. Can you unmute yourself? How you doing, Mr. Matthews?
Hey, everybody doing good evening, good evening. Hey, Brandon, thank you, Lisa. Brandon, thank you, man. You messaged me. First of all, welcome home, man. As we talk about relationships, and I thank each and every one of you for letting me in. I think, Brandon, when I came home in 2009, man, I probably went through 3 relationships. And be honest with you, the female that rode with me the whole time I was in prison, when I came home, I was a business owner before I left the street. So when I got to the last 6 months, as you know, in the feds, I was writing people to get back into business. So when I came home, I was more on getting me straight, getting me back, not looking at my attitude, not looking at what a relationship. And I wound up going through 3 marriages just because what I did when I came home, I met a female that was in the court system. So I thought for sure God say, okay, you send me somebody. So as you go up the ladder in life, okay, now they can balance out the scale. So that was a bad situation. So I just say to you, man, you got to look back at how you was before you went in and how you was when you did that 18. And you got to take a minute to find the base of really what you're trying to do, And basically, I'm connected to you now. So, I'm right there for you. But, it's tough. It's going to be some hills. It's even going to be some hurdles. But if you focus on being honest with your mate, being honest with yourself about what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go, that's basically how my 3 relationships came. Because I was all about getting me right. As we speak today, I was nominated for the Steve Harvey Neighborhood Award, Best Car Wash 3 years in a row. So I had some things that I worked on when I was away that I wanted to pursue, but along the way, a relationship comes in that. So you gotta find Brandon, and let Linda know your moments, your deepest moments, the things that you're thinking, so that it don't be a surprise, man. A lot of times it's all about when you have a vision, like I think Ms. Harris talked about a visionary. You already got a gift. You got a skill. Being in prison, man, I had a mindset. As most of you know in the feds, it's a mindset because you deal with people from all over the world. So we had a chance to tap in. So, man, I just You know, I'm there for you, you know, and just take it one day at a time that first year. And I guarantee you, if you take it one day at a time, you'll keep your head up, man. You'll keep smiling. And even when you hit the hurdles, you'll stand up.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I appreciate it because I know that's what I had to slow down when I came out because it was all gas, no brake. And I did have to slow down, you know, just so I can think. I had to think, what do I want to do? I have started my own business. You know, it's coming out. I got my flyers coming out. I already got my business cards. I'm waiting for, well, the flyers are fixing to come out. Once the flyers come out, I'm getting my t-shirts printed up. So I already got all my tools. Everything is working out. Everything's falling in place like just putting on clothes. You know what I mean? It's going together like starched pants right now. And once I slowed down and I put the gas in to go another way, I slowed down the other thing, put the gas in, go the other way. Everything started falling into place. It's starting to work out.
That's cool.
You know,
hey, Brandon.
Yes,
that
sir.
starch pants thing is just a Houston thing. That's just a Texas thing. Everybody don't do that, man.
That's where I'm from, man. You know,
I know what it is. I know. I can hear it.
I want to let you know, Brandon, that something I had to learn was take your time doing what you're doing. You know, don't rush in doing anything. Everything's going to come to you. You know, we tend to come home and we have a huge appetite of trying to be successful, you know, and because of that, you know, we kind of like have tunnel vision in a lot of things that we do. And I used to get frustrated with myself saying, I know I'm supposed to be farther along in life than this, or I'm supposed to be accomplished this by now, you know, and, you know, I had family members and friends tell me, say, man, give yourself 5 years, you know, give yourself 5 years. You know, it takes time for these things to happen. But here's the funny thing. Before we went in, we wasn't living for 5 years. That's long term. We were living for the short term. So that's another thing that we have to learn to accept, you know, and understand. You know, that's why these platforms, to me, are good because, you know, it's like us giving each other strength. We're living off of each other's strength and perspectives and ideas. And we let people know that, hey, we all go through this. You know, this is not something that's just new. With that, I want to also touch on something that Mr. Park said about your mate's experience, what level of prison they've been in and all that. That plays a factor. Don't misunderstand me. However, that also plays a factor for the woman that you choose. Even though she's been out, you know, you got to figure out what her environment was before you came home, you know, because some women that be in aggressive environments have aggressive attitudes and have aggressive mouth, just like the guys that's been in an aggressive environment. So, you know, what happens is, you know, when you go to try to communicate, the communication is terrible because both of y'all both have aggressive attitudes, you know, and y'all both staring each other down like two mad pit bulls, like, hey, you move and I'll bite you, you know, but at some point, you got to find that common ground to where y'all can communicate with one another and be able to effectively communicate and hear each other out. Let me say it that way, you know, and understand that, you know, I understand you've been living 50 years or 25 years. I'm 29 myself, but I know you've been living 29, 30 years, whatever, you know, and you've been doing it your way, but there might be a different way that might be a better way. Not saying your way is bad because it's been working, but it might be an easier and a better way. You know, we both have to be able to communicate with that. And also communication is a major factor, you know, and that's why I say how you communicate is something that we have to look at because it's more than just talking. It's actually listening and hearing what your person is telling you, you know, because I, you know, realize that, you know, a lot of people don't communicate. They're formulating a response before you even finish talking. And then they miss half of the things that you said, you know, so, you know, you got to think about that. You know, communication is, and that's what I think the counseling goes back on. But always keep in mind that there's trigger words, as Ms. Harris said, there's trigger words, there's trigger periods that we do and we have. And if I'm aggressive and my old lady's aggressive, you know, if I raise my voice a little bit, that's going to make her frown her face up and raise her voice a little bit, you know, and then, you know, the conversation going sideways. Now, I have another gentleman that I want to give his perspective. I always love this guy, picked on this guy, but he's bigger than me and he can whoop me. You know, but you know, because of Jesus, I ain't scared of him. Mr. Clifton, how you doing, sir?
I'm the same, me, James. Brandon ain't the person I used to be. one thing I want to say, Brandon, is that it'll be a year next week for me next week. So I just got home too after doing 23. You were kind of aggressive inside, so just something that you have to, you got to put in check. You got to remember that half of the people in society don't know anything about people who are incarcerated. So the first thing how they see people who have been incarcerated is how they're portrayed on Shawshank Redemption, how they're portrayed on the movie Shot Calling, all the prison movies that you see. You understand? So you got to remember society is looking through what they've been shown. So they're judging you based on what they've been shown about people who've been incarcerated. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you got to know that they're not against you, but they are, how can I say it? Some of them are afraid of you, and then some of them feel like you don't deserve anything because you committed some kind of crime.
Right.
Nobody looks past incarceration past their loved one. If they've never had a loved one who's been incarcerated, then they don't give a darn about you, me, or anybody else who's been incarcerated. They think that we're the scum of the earth because, like I said, they see us through TV eyes. They judge us based on what society has shown them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know the stigma that we have a stigma, and
yeah, but you gotta let that go.
I understand, and that's what I'm doing. I definitely understand. Yeah. That's what I'm putting it behind me every day. It's getting somewhat easier. I still have the little spark, but it's getting easier. Like.
And don't let. For me, this is a personal thing because I've been in some of the worst prison too. You know what I mean? I spent like 9 years at Beaumont.
Right.
You know what I mean? I went to Yazoo Medium where we rocked and rolled. I've been in 4 prison rides, but I can't bring that home with that same mentality because the first thing I have to remember that these youngsters don't see me as being somebody in prison. They see that you're interfering with what I'm doing in the streets. Right. So they're not respecting us. Even when you come back to the hood, like I said, that's not your block anymore. That's not your street anymore. You know what I mean? They don't know you. They don't care that you've been to the penitentiary. Most of the youngsters out here carrying pistols. You know what I'm saying? And so if you address them aggressive, they're going to give you the same thing that you address them with.
Right.
You got a story to tell, man, because you are a survivor. You got a story to tell because your wife, Linda, was there waiting on you to help you reacclimate yourself back to society. You got a story to tell because you were one of the best QAs that I've seen in Unicorn.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you got a skill set that would hurriedly get you in part, but you're a certified auditor. I know that because we went through the auditing class together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you can look at any material and inspect it and then tell whether it's right or wrong.
Right.
You know ISO like the back of your hand.
Right.
So don't focus on the negative that you're doing. Just use them as stepping stones and overcome them. It's taking time. It's taking time for you to get your birth certificate or your credentials to get your ID. Okay, so what you got to do is step back and breathe, and then look, and then let Linda guide you and say, okay, what do I need to do? What do you think I need to try next?
Right.
Or me obtaining these documents so I can become gainfully employed.
Right. Now, it took me about 5.5 months to get my ID.
Yeah. Okay. It took me about 6 months.
Yeah, it took me about 5.5.
So I didn't let that deter me though. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I can't come out mad at the world because I did 23 years. That's behind me, man. Just like 2020 is behind me. I got to let all that go. I got to use that to tell somebody else so they don't make the same mistake I made.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I can't deal with people out here aggressively if I'm asking them for help. I can't ask them for help in the same breath that I'm being aggressive with them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Get the same treatment back.
Right. Well, they're going to just cut out, okay, you need me, I don't need you. That's what they're saying. When they see you, they're saying, you need me, I don't need you.
Right.
You know,
Fortunately, I do have a job. You know, somebody did give me a chance, and they did give me a job with my federal ID. I didn't even have to have my Texas ID, so they did. And now, so be it. I did go. My wife took me around. She took me all around Houston, and I wrote business names down, and I looked them up on the internet. I got all their phone numbers, and I spent 3, 4, 5 days calling company after company after company. And then a dude asked me, when he's fixing to hang up, he asked me, "Do you know how to sew?" I said, "Yes, I know how to sew." And he said, can you come in tomorrow? He said, "Come in. Can you come in Monday?" I said, "I'll be there Monday." He called me a couple hours later and said, "Can you come in tomorrow?" I said, "Bet." I started Monday. So I do know what you're saying. I do.
But then check this out. Okay. What that sewing did was allow you to get in the door. Then you're going to be able to use your quality assurance and auditing experience and ISO 9000 to further you up in that company. Then you got Jeff Lightning out there who's working for Amazon. You know, You got Carlos Owen who's out there. He's doing SAP, and Troy Lard. These are people that you work with in Unicorp who are out there who got prominent jobs in Houston. Right. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, man, God may take us a long way around to get what we want, so we can humble ourselves. You just got to be patient and take time. Be patient with you.
Yeah, we just got to get out of our own way. Get out of our own way sometimes.
Get out of your own way, man. Get out of your own way, man. And then not only that, when you came home, you coming home after 18. You wasn't coming home to no cell. When you walked out of that prison door, however much of a shock it had been, then all that should be in your rearview mirror.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You're coming to a loving home, somebody who's taking a chance on you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not because they love you and they want to see you succeed. So you gotta leave that aspect of your life behind. I'm not saying forget it. It should always be a reminder to deter you from doing anything to go back there.
Right.
But it's just some of those bad habits that we got to go. We got to stop putting the ice in the cooler when we sit down and watch TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? We got to leave that institutionalization. You got to stop wanting to take the stuff out of the headphones so everybody can turn to the radio and listen to the TV. We got to leave that institutional BS behind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And learn how they're living out here and to be able to adapt and overcome and become a instrumental part of society. You see what I'm saying? All that other stuff don't mean nothing. The only thing that means anything to it to somebody who's still locked up.
Right.
And there are a lot of dudes who are free who are still locked up. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So whatever time, that 18 years, man, as bad as it may seem, you got to chalk that up to the game, man, and put that in a thing, put that in something so where you can tell somebody else about it so they won't go that way. Right. I was a first-time offender too, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? They got 33 years and 4 months. Never had a traffic ticket or anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I feel your pain. It's other people. So I'm not blaming the people. I survived. I overcame. And so now it's time for me to move on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's my take, James.
I appreciate you, brother. You always give us some great words, and that's why I always save you for last, But I got Mr. Jones want to say something. And I also want to speak on this. As we said before, when we come home, we have a plan. We've been planning for many, many years, and we anxious. It's like I don't even want to equate it to that there. I'm just going to say that we're anxious. So when we actually get a chance to actually get out and get free, we're just trying to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. That can also be perceived as being aggressive. Just tone down how you deal with people, how you talk to people, how you interact with people, and continue on that path. With that, I'm going to say that I have Mr. Jones want to say something. Quick. Are you there, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you good.
Okay. Good evening, all. I don't want to monopolize. It's so easy to start talking and keep talking, but I want to say this. You mentioned earlier about the irony of us speaking to you about your arrogance. Mr. Clifton forced me to put my hand up because as a brother of someone who did so much time, all you gentlemen that do come out, you do have challenges. What I was afraid of for my brother who went in as this dude and came out with these challenges is that please understand and recognize that nowadays, people out here are not living like they in prison. The Second Amendment is prominent, and that illegality with the guns is that was my biggest fear, that my brother was going to do something that's going to cause him to go back to prison and or for him to have to take a life, somebody take his life or something like that there. So when you guys do that, I've also got a lot of things that on my mind, but I want to say this here. sometimes somebody once told me this here, and I think it's heavy. Dying is easy, but suffering is harder. So if something happens to my brother, man, that's gonna kill us. That's gonna pain us. So when you make these moves, the gentleman that's testifying out of Houston, man, you've told us so many beautiful things, and you got chills on my body with regard to what your woman has done for you, how she got you. Man, you would disappoint her. You would man, that's who you would hurt if you did something, allow somebody to steal your cool or put you in a position where you could have walked. Well, you know how tough you are. You know what you're capable of. But the other people, always the other people. And I heard Miss Harris talk about putting herself first, and I heard someone say that, my brother say that, 100, don't put yourself first. So you guys always give me something to chew about, but that's what was my fear, not the intimate relationship, but the relationship with my brother. I know who he is. I know what he was, what he will do, what he's capable of, and I know that the world has changed. Sometimes we don't respect our elders. As Mr. Clifton says, they don't know you, they don't see you. And you are that dude, the dude that's testifying from Houston. I forget your name, sir. That's only been home. That's what I was worried about mostly. I think my brother does have a grip, a rap, a understanding, and realizes he'll fall back. And there's only a few things that he's willing to go 100 for immediately. He'll try to avoid all of that foolishness. Never allow anybody to step on his manhood. But that's my thing. Please remember that, man. Ain't nobody. The world has gotten less respectful as I get older. We don't respect our elders. Ain't no fair fights. We not in jail. Everybody got a gun. It's just crazy, man. So, keep in mind that so many people love you. And like I say, man, I can't say this enough. How you testify about your woman. I know Miss Harris is also wonderful. I heard Mr. Clifton's significant other speak the other day. But man, you giving me chills, man. For you to disappoint that lady after what she's put in, you should be ashamed of yourself if you. That's what I'm saying. So that's basically what I'm gonna say tonight. But I got a lot of other things. Like you guys say comments that open up a vein every time, a new leaf, something else I could talk on or speak about, or something to chew on. But tonight, I wish that you guys that come home that have these challenges also remember nobody don't care, or they ain't playing fair, or like I say, the Second Amendment, or it's just a lot to think about, man. A lot to think about. And I wish you would think. And you guys have done a lot of time, so you know that it's costly. Mistakes are costly. Trouble's easy to get in, hard to get out, and it ain't fair. Y'all have taught me the system ain't fair. It ain't fair. The hell you get somebody 25 years first offense, nonviolent crimes, or it ain't fair. Y'all have taught me that there. But you guys are the few people that are doing positivity. My brother was the first one that I'm intimate with that has come home, and he's opened the door for me to see Mr. Clifton, Ms. Riley, and so many of Mr. Parks, so many guys that might have been bad or may not have been on the right path that are now trying to do other things. Most of the guys that come home, they still on that foolishness now, so that's enough. That's what I want you to know. Know that, hey, man, it's crazy out here, and ain't nobody playing fair.
Thank you for your comments, sir. I wanted to touch on something because I have a friend that's watching on Facebook, and it goes in line with what I was explaining about our vision and how we come home and we're trying to accomplish our goals, and because we've been planning and wanting to do different things, so we just come out, we just want to get, we're not trying to catch up, but we want to get what we perceive as stable. I have a gentleman that's a friend of mine, good friend of mine. His name is Delvin Combo, and he's watching. And that gentleman there is one of the most misconceived individuals that I ever met. I understand him because I've been in his shoes before. But, a lot of people that's job-wise don't like to deal with him. And one thing I noticed, it's the same thing with everybody with him, is he don't play games. He has low tolerance. When he got a job, he's going to do his job. And when you tell him what to do, he's going to do it to the T. And he's not, you don't need to look over him. You don't have to watch him. You don't have to do any of that. But he expects you to do your part, be an adult, and do everything that you're supposed to do when you say you're going to do it, and keep your word. And because of that attitude towards him, which is a great attitude, he's always misconceived as the bad guy. I don't see him as the bad guy. A lot of people don't see him as the bad guy. But the employers out here who's never encountered a gentleman like him, that is that's a perfectionist, that is someone that's a go-getter, that's someone that's motivated, self-motivated, they are intimidated by him, so I just want to, throw that out there so we can understand that this is some of the things we may have to do. And with, not for him, I'm not telling him to ever change, because he's a successful man too, You know, but sometimes that's one of the ingredients that may take to be successful. But do look for some people to dislike that or frown down on that. I do say that there. Definitely appreciate everything everybody has shared. Definitely appreciate everybody coming, you know, that did what they did, you know, and said what they said. And I definitely love these platforms because they give each other some strength and some encouragement from each other. Let everybody know you're not the only one going through it. So I definitely thank y'all. You know, and if anybody on here would like a topic or something that they would like to speak on, this is our platform. This is not only the growth hour. The growth hour is the people's hour. You know, so if you have something you would like to speak on, please bring it up and we will make this happen. You know, because we're all about educating and learning and growing. You know, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this tonight. I definitely appreciate everybody coming. Love everybody for that. And I will see y'all again next week.